What's up, guys? Welcome to the sesh. Today I have a very special guest. Jen, please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Sanchez. I am currently going through breast cancer. Today I'm here to talk about my journey and life living with breast cancer.
So what I want to talk about is the ins and outs of it. So nobody ever prepares you for this stuff. I'm sure you went through so many difficult times. Not only you, your family, and your loved ones. And so I kind of want to touch on that and what you can prepare people for.
Right. So it started with a small ball in my right breast. I felt it. And I thought, you know what? I have an upcoming appointment. My doctor, it's my annual pap smear.
How old were you?
I was 35. Okay. 35. So when I went in, they'll do your check, and they'll check the breast. They know I feel like they know specifically how to feel, what to look for. So I knew what I felt, and I said, and I remember calling my dad and telling him, Dad, I feel something. I'm going to leave it to the doctor to notice it. Probably the worst mistake I could have made. I went in, had my check. She didn't feel anything. So I left, and I thought, okay, well, she didn't feel anything. She's a doctor. She knew. She was moving her hands around. She didn't feel it. So I let it go. A year passes. I feel it still, and it's larger than what it was. I went to the doctor again, and this time I remember, this was for my annual exam, and I remember laying on the bed and saying, if she doesn't notice it, do I say something or do I stay quiet? But I knew that the size was larger. So that was, that in itself was already kind of alarming. She did her check, and she didn't notice anything. She took off her gloves, and she was done. She's like, okay, is there anything that I need to help you with? Is there anything else? And I'm thinking I could walk out of here and just be fine. I'm fine. The doctor didn't say anything. I can just leave. But I knew there was something that was telling me, you need to speak up. Like, you need to say something. And I did, and I said, Doctor, I feel something. And when I said that, she's like, okay, what do you feel? And I said, well, I don't know. It's kind of like a lump in the right breast, which was crazy to me because it was so large. Like, how did you not feel it?
Yeah, how did you miss that?
Yes. So she puts her gloves on. She's like, okay, what area do you feel it in? And she felt that area. And she says, okay, let me send you for an ultrasound. And I remember walking out of there thinking, oh my God, okay, she felt it. She felt it. This is good or bad. I spoke up, that's great. But could this lead to something else? So I quickly, I think it was like a week later, I went in for an ultrasound should I say that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Absolutely.
At Mission Hospital.
Yeah.
And I did the ultrasound there. It was maybe about 20 minutes. Like, it was pretty quick. That was the first time I had ever had an ultrasound on my breast. So I was very emotional. I remember walking out. My mom was in the waiting room, and I was just crying. Because when you get an ultrasound, you can hear all the beeps, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, why is it beeping so much? I left, and about a few days later, I got a call from my gynecologist, and she said, okay, they noticed a little mass. She goes, but it's probably not cancer because you don't have cancer in your family. That doesn't run in your family, so it's probably nothing. It's probably benign, so forth. So I told my mom, and immediately they all suggested, no. Like, we're going to Houston. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not going to mess around here. I went to Houston, and I had my first ultrasound there. So the ultrasound that I had in Mission was 20 minutes. The one that I had in Houston at MD Anderson was about an hour and 20 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Completely
Talk
different.
about thorough.
Yeah.
Thoroughly checking. Like, the whole area. They went all the way up to my neck. They went around my underarms, whereas Mission was just solely focused here. So we had that appointment. They did notice that there was a mass. And I want to say I got my results. Not that it was confirmed that I had breast cancer, but that they told me okay, we do see the mass. Like the results for that, like we do notice something. Now we're going to like send it in, you know, so that they could confirm whether it was cancerous or not. They noticed, I believe it was one large mass in my right breast. And then there were lymph nodes that were also like coming out as something, like as a, I don't know, not good, you know. But they still needed to take them in. They did a biopsy that when I was doing the ultrasound, they came back and they said, we need to biopsy certain areas. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. So I'm laying there in the bed, just Elias was outside, my fiance. He was outside in the waiting room. And
did he know at this time?
He had no idea. He just knew that I was going for the ultrasound.
Wow.
So he's there. And I want to say we could have been the last ones there in the hospital. Wow. Because it took such a long time. So the ultrasound itself was like an hour, almost an hour and a half. And then they did the biopsy and they biopsied different areas. And I remember feeling in that moment just so alone, like scared, alone, not knowing, because again, like I've never, besides having a C-section with my daughter once, never had to be in hospital or rarely go to the doctor's office. So this was such a big deal.
So then they really hurried it up, hurried the whole process up.
Yeah, like they don't waste any time. You know, so shortly after that, that's when we went back to the waiting room. Elias was able to come in for that. We sat there. They were going to send the...
What was that conversation like?
Oh, man. You know, it was one of those where they don't beat around the bush. So they're pretty much telling me, yes, it is something it looks like it could be cancer. We need to confirm the size of it, the fact that it's something in your lymph nodes. Once it's in your lymph nodes, like that's never good. Mm-hmm. So at that point, we're already like, okay, like now we're starting to like prepare for what's gonna happen.
And what was going on in your life during that time?
Oh my gosh. Like I felt like at that time I was just living life, enjoying life. You know, it's Elias and our two girls and everything is, I mean, I'm a teacher. So, you know, I go to work, get out of work, tend to Gianna, Ella, you know, and everything just seemed so normal. It was beautiful. Honestly, it was such a beautiful life at that time because I had no worries. You know, we could eat what we wanted. I could eat what I wanted. I could have a drink if I wanted. And now that's just, everything's so different now. Life has completely changed. And not so much, you know, I can't say like it's changed in a negative way because a lot of it is good. It's good that I've had to change certain things about the way I eat, you know, limiting the amount of alcohol consumption, which I wasn't a big drinker then, but now I've completely had to eliminate it. You know, so little things like that I've had to change.
And what about the conversation with like Elias? Like how did that go? And with your family? Like I can only imagine, like, so, I can't imagine.
Elias and I, so this happened, it was like 2 years into our relationship when we found out that I ended up having cancer. So I got the results, my goodness, it was in March. So I went for when I had the ultrasound in Houston, it was in February, I believe. February 2022, March 23rd, it's coming up, is when I got the phone call. I remember I had gotten out of work. I was at home with the two girls, and I got a phone call. And I remember they were playing outside, and I just saw MD Anderson on my phone. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is it? Like, okay. And I answered the phone, and it was the doctor. And she said, Ms. Sanchez, we got your results. You have invasive ductal carcinoma. You have stage 3 breast cancer. And
what was going through your head at that time?
Oh my gosh. You know, because I had the girls outside with me, I had to compose myself as much as I wanted to scream and cry. And oh my gosh, like everything was kind of hitting me. Anger, sadness, anxiousness, everything. I had 2 little girls that were outside. And I kept telling them, like, shh, quiet, guys. Like, I need to take this call. And, excuse me, I'm going to lose my voice. I was calm. I took the conversation. I told them, okay, what do I need to do next? And so they were like, okay, well, you need to come in. We need to set up an appointment. We need to set up a treatment plan, do some more exams, so forth. As soon as that phone call ended, I felt like what else was there for me to do? Like I needed to, okay, now what? Let me call Elias. Let him know. Let me call my parents, let them know. When I called him, he was at work. He's like, okay, I'm heading home right now. That was just quick. I just told him I got the results. I have breast cancer. And he's like, okay, it's okay. Let me finish this and I'm going to be home. I called my parents, and once Elias got home, I think I stayed outside. He had the girls inside. I stayed outside and I just cried. I just sat there and cried. And, in that moment, you have the why me, which is not what you're supposed to think, but you're human. Yeah. And how can you not think, why me? Why is this happening? I'm such a good person. I think I'm a good person. Why would this happen to me? And you have those thoughts, but then, okay, they just kind of go away because really you don't wish this upon anybody. Right. Nobody should have to go through this, So I took it with Elias. I remember telling him, you don't have to be with me. Like, this is going to be a lot. And I feel bad having to put somebody through this with me. Like, this was forever changing my life.
And what was that conversation like? Because that's a very difficult conversation to have, and especially for you to say that to somebody, it's very it's deep.
Yeah.
So how was that?
So Elias is a few years younger than me, and we joke about that. He's like, you're older than me and I'm younger and this and that. Well, I'm like, whatever. But even then, with that said, I was kind of like, you know what? You are like, you're young. You could still like move on, find somebody else. And I told him, like, I love you.
Had you already just given up on life? Like you assumed that the worst was going to happen?
I wouldn't say that because you know what? No, I'll say I did not give up on life in that moment because of my daughter. So with that, I felt like I have to do whatever. Like, let's get the ball rolling. Whatever I need to do, my daughter needs me. She needs her mother. So with Elias, he was kind of like, everything's going to be okay. We're 2 years into our relationship at this point. Like, so everything's still fresh. And then you're going to get hit with cancer, So I was kind of like, it's okay. I get it. I love you. I care about you. But I'd be okay too if you wanted to leave. Like, I don't want to put somebody through this that can go live their life with someone else that doesn't have breast cancer, And his immediate response was, no, like that's never been a thought to leave. It's never been an option. We're going to walk through this together.
That's awesome. That's good to hear.
Yeah. And so we have, and it's come up. I'm sure I brought it up a few other times, like, you can, and and I get it. He gets frustrated and he's like, stop, because that's not, like, it's not a thought for me. Yeah. And I think with different parts of this journey that, with losing my hair and looking at myself, I'm like, you don't have to. Like, I know this isn't how, so you want to see your girlfriend at that time, and. Well,
you have the worst thoughts about yourself because you live with yourself 24/7, 365 days a year. So it's a very interesting thing.
Yeah. And you know what? He's been, honestly, throughout this, he's been my rock because I don't know. He's been just helpful with my daughter, and then, he has his daughter and trying to communicate with my family and let them know, because a lot of the time, so once I got the news that I had breast cancer, we went back to Houston. We did all the tests that needed to be done. I spoke to my medical oncologist in Houston. She set up a treatment plan. So the treatment plan was 16 rounds of chemo, surgery, radiation, and then the hormone therapy.
When they told you that, what was going through your head?
This is going to change my life. Like, this is going to change my life. Am I going to make it through all this? And I remember asking her about like, tell me about the stage. And she didn't really give me an answer. She kind of just said, you're between stage 2 and 3. She's like, but it doesn't even matter. Like, it doesn't matter. Don't focus on that. Because in my head, when you think of, oh, you're stage 4 or you're stage 3, oh, you're kind of up there. Mm-hmm. That's not good. So she was just kind of like, don't think about that. It's just, you're at a stage 3. You have a curable and treatable cancer. So that was great. Like, as soon as she said that, I'm like, oh my God. Like,
there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, there's hope. Like, it's going to be okay. So we immediately, I said, okay, like the thing with the chemo. So the first part of it was chemo, and that was going to be every week, right? What was it? 12 rounds were going to be every week, every Friday. And then there was going to be a stronger medication, which is the AC, also known as the red devil, is what they call it. I'm like, can you all find like a different name for this? And they're like, because it's red. I don't know what it is. It's just this red fluid medicine. And that one, you'll get it every other week.
So run us through the first round. Mm-hmm. Like, how was that? What was that experience?
Right. I was terrified, first of all. So when I spoke to the medical oncologist in Houston, I asked her, because this is going to be every week, is it possible to get this medicine that you're going to use in McAllen? Remember, I'm like clueless to all of this. So she's like, yeah, that's fine. So I ended up going to Texas Oncology in McAllen. They were wonderful, amazing. Dr. Restrepo, he's just a great oncologist there. He pretty much followed the same orders that my oncologist in Houston was going to give me. So that gave me I was good with that, knowing, okay, I'm going to be treated the same way I was going to be treated in Houston. Everything's going to stay the same. I had my first round of Taxol. So I first was super nervous, obviously. Like, oh my gosh, like I had a week before, I think it was a week before my first chemo session, they put a port right here on my left side. That's why you can kind of notice there's like a little scar there. It's kind of sunken in. They put a port inside. It was an in and out procedure at Regional. And that's where they were going to put the IV to put the medicine in for the Taxol. I got the Taxol. And it seemed like, I think afterwards, I was like, okay, like we can go eat. I felt fine. One of the things with the Taxol and with any chemo was slow drip. So when they're setting you up, I think there's like a little bit like a faster drip and a slow drip. They try to start you off with a slow drip to monitor for any complications.
Okay.
I made sure throughout my chemo journey, I was like, I want slow drip every single time because I do not want any complications. And the reason, if you get a slow drip, obviously you're going to be there longer. The drip's going down very slow. Mm-hmm. Funny thing is that Elias would tell me, he's like, Jen, you know that there's other people in the waiting room waiting to be seen for chemo, and you're over here with your slow drip here for like 2 hours. But I was like, I'm sorry, but I don't want I don't want to take a chance of them going faster and something happening and I'm going to get a reaction. I said, no, like it's just going to be this way and that's it. And thanks to God, I had no complications with chemo. As soon as they put the needle into the port to start the chemo, I remember getting super emotional. I remember not crying, but tears were just rolling down my eyes because I knew this is it. Like, this is happening.
You're going into it.
Yeah. I held a rosary in my hand. I always had my eyes closed during that process. I'm just not good with needles. So like, I'll always tell them, just don't show me anything. Do what you have to do. Just don't show me. And so I'd close my eyes. I was holding a rosary and praying, and I could just feel the tears. Elias was with me for my first treatment, and he was just holding my hand, and he's like, it's going to be okay. Like, you're going to be okay. I was done. I called my family. I said, we're good. You know, I got this. Like, we're going to be good. If I can do this, the rest of these treatments are going to be fine.
And was that the case?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm telling you, like, I would leave chemo. In the beginning, I would always have somebody there with me. I want to say, like, there was maybe a treatment or two that I was able to drive. Like, I was like, okay, I can drive myself afterwards. Like, I don't need anybody to take me there. I think I would have somebody drive me and take me back home because we were nervous. Like, how was I going to feel afterwards? And then it got to a point where I was like, I can drive, and I think I'd even go to the mall. Right after chemo, I remember going to buy makeup, and I told them, I just got out of chemo, but I need to buy this or something. And they were thinking,
you were looking
like,
for a sense of normalcy.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was, I did 14 rounds, 14, no, it was 12 rounds of Taxol. And then that's when you transition to the stronger chemo. This is the chemo where you do hear about the scary stuff, you know, the people with massive headaches, the vomiting, the, you know, not being able to sleep, the pain that it takes on your body. So as I'm getting closer to that, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? This is going to scare me. I want to say when I started that medicine, the AC, that's the time that, like, my hair was completely gone. Eyebrows, eyelashes.
So during the 12 weeks is when your hair started falling off?
Yeah. And I would say maybe 3, 4... maybe about the 4th round is when we went to my hairstylist, Katia, and I talked to her, and she's like, whenever you're ready, you let me know. And I said, I'm ready. And she shaved my head.
What was that experience like? Because I know that for a woman, hair is
yeah,
it's your identity.
Absolutely. And that's one thing, Josh, that I feel like people will say, it's just hair. Like, it's just hair. And I'm thinking, have you, like, gone through this? Like, because it's not just hair. Like, and it's exactly what you said. It makes you, in a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's part of your appearance.
Right.
You know, I was used to having long hair to having no hair and looking at myself in the mirror and trying, like, you have to find it in you.
What were those thoughts when you look at yourself in the mirror? I felt less of a woman. And that was very hard, you know, because you look at yourself and you don't have hair, you don't have eyebrows, you don't have eyelashes, you don't have anything. And you can and I couldn't find it in me I bought wigs. I never wore the wigs. I ended up just wearing scarves because I remember Elias telling me we were going to go meet with his family. And he said, why are you going to put on a wig? They already know you don't have hair. And I was like, well, that's true. Yeah. I said, okay. So I wore the scarf and that was kind of just my thing, is just wearing different scarves. Even now that I do have hair, it's still hard to try to, like, feel very feminine, you know, because my hair is shorter, you know, and I'm not used to that. You know, I'm not used to this new me yet. You know, I try, and I'm trying to embrace it. Every day I try to embrace it and be positive, because I am very thankful to have hair. But it's also, it's hard getting used to the new you. Yeah. You know? And there were plenty of times that I would just stand in front of the mirror and just cry, because I felt, I don't want to say ugly, but I felt less attractive, you know? And yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't think nobody ever gets to talk about that stuff. It's like you see it online and somebody posts about it, but nobody ever talks about like what they look at in the mirror, that conversation that goes through your head.
You feel like people look at you and one, you look sick. People feel sorry for you. You just don't look attractive anymore. And that's like, just the fact that you look sick and people will automatically associate you as, oh, you have cancer, and it's like, yes, I do, but I'm still Jennifer.
So what is that conversation like that because like for me, when I see something like that, it's not that I don't feel bad. It's like, I get it. Like, I understand that you're going through a hard time. So for me to not feel something, it's like, it's inhuman of me. So I'm interested in like how you perceive that, because obviously from the outside, we're coming in, it's like, okay, we'll feel bad for you, sorry for you.
Yeah, that's like one of the things is don't feel bad for me, because then I feel even worse.
Okay.
And it's like, I'm not a victim either. I'm still alive.
So how should people react to that then? What is the proper way for someone that has cancer, has gone through it? What is the proper way that somebody can address that? I'm assuming it's different for everybody too.
I feel like I would prefer that people just continue to treat me the same.
Okay.
Just because I have cancer, that doesn't, it changes the way I maybe eat. Aside from that, that's it. Like, I'm still, and I still do. Like, I tell Elias, like, let's go somewhere. Like, let's go out. I still want to be.
I think the thoughts that go through people's heads is that the person is very fragile now. So they're trying to, like, I don't want to be able to contribute to something that might happen. So definitely. I think that's what's going through a lot of people's heads.
We have, granted, like, we have limitations. Like there are limitations, like to things like I can't right now, I can't carry things that are heavy. I just can't. They're not supposed to put weight. When I carry a purse, I'm used to always carrying it on the right side. But because that's where I had my surgery, I'm not supposed to. I need to carry it on the left now. Things, little things like that. But I feel like aside from that, I try, and I think I'm very conscious about that, is I try to do as much as everybody else does. Is I don't want to feel like I can't do something because I have cancer. So let's say working out, going to the gym, like that stuff that I used to do before cancer, going to yoga, as I think I was still doing it throughout chemo. I would have to modify certain things, going to yoga and going to the gym. But I still made it a point to continue. I didn't want to stop because I have cancer, my body's frail, or just what I've learned is I need to be gentle with my body.
Okay.
That's it. Just be gentle with it. Yes, there's certain things that I can't lift or carry, but I can carry other things. Like there's other stuff that I can carry that aren't as heavy.
Right.
I can still, sometimes we want to go out and do something. I can still do that. I won't drink, but I can still go have fun. I can still be around people, have fun, talk to people. That doesn't change. I don't want to get stuck at home and like, that's it. My life just stops.
Yeah. Because I think when you stop moving is when you start going down. Your health, so everything starts to go down. It's a very interesting thing. Is like, I found that now when I got into my 40s, like I literally have to fight for my life every single day, and it sucks, but that's just the way it is. Yeah. Can you kind of shine light on that? So I'm 38. I'll be 39. It's crazy because once you get to like your 30s, you're like, wait a minute, how old am I again? But yeah, I feel the same way, and I feel like, especially with cancer, life is so precious. Like, it's so precious, and I have to do whatever it takes to continue living. So if it means altering my eating patterns, okay, like then I need to do that. If I need to eat better, if I need to stay away from alcohol, if these are the things that I need to stay away from, so that I can live a few more years,
then I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I feel exactly the same as you in that sense that, you know, we have kids too. Like we have a lot to live for. And going to the gym, I want to say now, like right now, with radiation, that kind of like took a toll on my body. Like that did. But I've made it a point, and I've told Elias, like, I need to get to the gym. I need to make sure to stay active. With this new hormone therapy that I'm on now, it affects your bones, your joints, and I'm thinking, oh no. You know, and people say it's the pain that you feel can be like excruciating, bone and joint pain. And I'm thinking, no, I'm 38. Like that can't be happening. Like I need to make sure that I stay active, that I'm working out, that I'm eating the right foods to feed my bones and joints, you know, so that doesn't stop me from, I mean, I'm 38, like from getting to my 40s, from being active with my daughter, you know.
Well, I always talk about taking care of yourself. I've only been doing this for a year, and I got super lucky, but you know, as soon as you find something that works really good for somebody, it's like you want to share it with everybody. Right. And a lot of times it comes off as preachy. But the thing is, like, I found that I got lucky, and there's a lot of people that aren't lucky. So they're suffering through heart attacks. They have diabetes. They live the quality of their life is not as good as it should be. Mm-hmm. And it's through diet and exercise that you need to do the tedious crap that nobody wants to do, the stuff every single day that gets you to those points, that gets you to live a little bit longer, adds to the quality of your life.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I was talking about. Is like, it's not so much, you can die on the way home in a car crash. Mm-hmm. But the thing is, the quality of your life that you have left, you need to make sure it's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kind of touch on that, because I think... now that I'm 41, I find myself questioning mortality a lot more.
It's scary.
It's very scary. Now, I don't know if it's just because that's the age, or I haven't gone through anything that's been so impactful in my life. But I think the older you get, the less time you have, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing is the quality of the time. So kind of touch on that.
One of the things that I've kind of gone through with this journey is focusing on the now. And that's been very powerful for me, is you enjoy today. Do as much as you can, Jennifer, today. Do as much as you can, enjoy it. Don't worry about the next appointments that you have. Don't worry about what's to come. Focus on today. If you want to go to the gym today, go to the gym. If you want to, I don't know, go take the girls here, do it. Like, do everything you can today, right now, because you don't know what.
Yeah, you don't know what the future holds.
Don't know what the future holds. And I feel like those words have stuck with me throughout this whole journey is, okay, like I know I have this coming up, but I'm not going to worry about it. Like, you know, what do I have? What I have in the next couple months is reconstruction. That's the next part. I don't even want to think about it, because I know that in itself is going to be that surgery. From what I've heard is big surgery. You know, the way they're going to do it, they've told me that surgery is going to be longer. I want to say they said 8 to 10 hours.
Wow.
Longer than my double mastectomy. So I'm thinking, okay, do I want to have that looming every day in my head? No. Because why? It's going to stress me out. Like, just enjoy today.
I feel like a lot of people need to have a release, and what workouts do for me is it gives me that release. Can you kind of touch on that? Like, I feel like the older you get, the more coping mechanisms that you have to have in life. And I found that through lifting weights and going out and walking. So kind of touch that, because I know that, like, for yoga, especially for women, is a release. Like, they get to go and they release that. So kind of touch that.
Yoga. So I've been going to yoga and actually I've been consistent with the Yoga House for the last year, I believe. Like, as soon as they opened and it's crazy because they opened and then a month later is when I was diagnosed with cancer. the owner, Mahi, she has been amazing throughout this process. And all the instructors there have been super supportive. And one of the things when I go in there, it's like my time to just not have to think about anything, you know. And there's a yin class that just blows my mind every time, because I leave that class feeling restored again. It's so crazy, because I feel like you leave feeling alive. You like went in with so much, you were carrying so much, there was so much on your mind, and I leave, and I'll call Elias right afterwards, and I'm sure he's annoyed by it, but I'm like, you don't understand what that class does for you. And it has helped me so much throughout chemo. And that was one of the things, you know, for people that are going through chemo, trying to stay active. One of the things that I didn't get to mention, but on my 15th round of chemo, my mom went over to my house and she sat there with me. This is when I was taking the strong one. And I usually had somebody there to just kind of monitor me. She sat on the sofa, and I knew like there was something weighing on her mind. She kept kind of like moving around and smiling at me. And I'm like, okay, this is odd, Mom. Mm-hmm. And she finally said, I need to tell you something. And I said, okay, Mom, what do you need? Like, what's going on? She said, I have breast cancer.
Jeez.
And I thought, what? No way. Like, and then I thought, like, did you just have it years ago that I didn't even know? You know, like, certainly you don't have it right now. Like, we're not going through this at the same time. And she said, no, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So I'm going to start chemo soon.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm right at the finish line to finish chemo. I have one more round. And she's telling me she's about to start. And I remember just sitting there thinking, no, this is not happening. My family doesn't speak about cancer. Nobody has cancer. How is it that all of a sudden my mom and I at the same time are being diagnosed?
That's crazy.
That's crazy. So, yeah. She's currently going through chemo in Houston. She says that because of her age, I'm 38, she's 58. She feels better being at MD Anderson and getting treated there. So she's over there. They have a house in College Station, so it's not too far from Houston.
So what is that conversation like then? Because now that you've gone through it, now your mother is going through this. What can people expect? Like what are those feelings? What is the process of that?
Oh man. It was so scary because not only am I fighting for my life and trying to be strong for my daughter, trying to be strong for my family, you know, so that they can see me. I don't want anybody to see me just down. Now I have my mother who's looking at me. And in my mind, I was thinking, oh my gosh, all the times that like she saw me crying, you know, and what I was feeling like, what was going on through her mind?
Yeah.
You know, like I'm sure she knew what was going on weeks before. And so she was there to see me cry, to see me shave my head and what the emotions were that I was going through. And then my mom's having to like take it in and hold it till she's comfortable enough to tell me. Oh my gosh. That's
a mother's burden. She'll carry it forever.
A lot. One thing that she told me that night, that she told me that she had breast cancer, she said, Jennifer, you have to be strong. And I'm thinking, I don't want to cry. I was thinking, I've been trying. You know, I'm trying every day to be strong. She's like, you have to be strong for Gianna, which is my daughter. And I'm thinking, like, and I have to be strong for my mom now. You know, so you're trying to be strong for everybody. that's a lot to carry. It's a lot for somebody to carry because you don't want them to, I'm the type, and I don't know if it's like a selfish thing of me. I don't want people to see me weak. Like I want them to see me strong, but I can't help it. Like sometimes there's just times where like I have to just
the weight of the world is
let it out. Yeah.
It's just a very heavy thing.
So she's my mom is good. She's got 2 more rounds left, but she was diagnosed with triple negative. So my cancer feeds off of estrogen. Hers was negative there's like 3 domains. And so hers was negative for all 3, so that means that they don't know what's specifically causing her cancer. She has breast cancer, but they don't know what's specifically causing it. For me, they know what it is, and they know what medicines to give me, for that. So it has taken a toll on her body, and I'll try to tell her, Mom, you need to stay active. I feel like that's so important. Like walk around, even when you don't want to. And I'm sure there were times that I was tired, and I didn't want to. And I'm like, no, like I need to do something. I can't just sit at home. People are like, you can sit at home and relax. And I'm thinking, no. I think I even went back to work. Like I didn't stop working throughout chemo.
I think you kept the life that you had, like, so you can keep going forward.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure that my life stayed consistent. It stayed normal as much as it could, considering the fact that my students too are seeing me like their teacher is wearing a head wrap. Like what's going on? There's changes everywhere. Every Monday, Miss Sanchez wouldn't be there. So I'd be at chemo.
That's an interesting thing. What was that dynamic between the kids and you?
So I'm a kindergarten teacher, and for the most part, they didn't really ask questions, and I really wouldn't talk about it. Sometimes, like my previous students, they're like, Miss Sanchez, what happened to your hair? And I said, and I would just tell them, I'm taking some medicine, and which was kind of one of those where I'm like, do I say that? Kids aren't going to want to take medicine. They're going to think, oh my God, if I take medicine, we're going to lose our hair. But I would just tell them, yeah, Miss Sanchez doesn't have hair right now, but it's going to grow back. It'll grow back in time. And I feel like they were just still too young. Little, to understand. And again, like I just kept it going. Like we're here to learn, and that's what we're focusing on. We're not focusing on Miss Sanchez and her health. We're here to
life
learn.
As normal.
Yeah.
All right. So going back, I think what I want to get from you is like the tips that people are going to go through. Like what can they expect? How can they expect to feel, especially in a family setting? Because I think that's one of the most difficult things is like, nobody prepares you for this at all. So kind of like touch on that. Like how does one, when you are confronted with this, what is the way you look back now in retrospect? How do you think it should have been taken care of?
You know what? I would say like with my family, everybody was there. Like I have a great support system. And really it's just letting me know we're here if you need anything. I felt personally that connecting with other breast cancer survivors and people that are going through it, you build like an instant connection to. So you have your family, and your family's wonderful, but they don't know what you are going through. They don't know what you're experiencing. They don't know the thoughts that are going through your mind. And you speak to somebody else that is going through breast cancer, they know exactly what you're feeling. And it's almost kind of like, it's okay. It's okay to feel this, and you connect. There's an instant connection between them. And I've met so many ladies that I've had that connection with. And I have my girlfriends who are wonderful. And they'll say, we don't know. And I said, it's okay. Just be there. Like, just be there. They'll call, just check in. How are you doing? Do you need anything? There's been times that like, okay, I do need something. I need a ride. And they're like, yes, like we'll go. Anything that you need, just offering a hand, when it's needed, picking up my daughter, that was helpful. Sometimes that like we couldn't, having people pick her up from school, take her to soccer, my family has been there. It's hard because, again, they've never had to deal with this. Mm-hmm. So they were just as much, I think they get very emotional. It's an emotional thing.
Yeah.
So they see me and they're like, "You're okay?" And I say, "Yeah, I'm good. Like, let's barbecue. Let's do something.
Let's do the stuff that we used to do.
Let's just keep it up."
So if you were to tell your family right now, like obviously thank you and all that stuff, what would you tell them?
That they're amazing, that everything that they've done up until now has been everything that I could have asked for and more. I don't need anything. I just need one of the things that I always tell everybody, because they'll say, what can we help you with? What can we do? And I'll just tell them, just pray. That's it. I don't need, people will try to offer you, groceries, money, this and that. I'm like, I don't need anything. Pray for me. That's all I need. Like, prayers, I feel like, go a long way. Yeah. I'm one that believes in the power of prayer, and that's it. I don't want anything from anybody else. Just support me, support this journey that I'm going through. And my family has just been amazing.
That's
They're
awesome.
just awesome. I don't have much to say, but they've been, because this has been, it's taken a toll on my family in the sense that now we also worry about my daughter. Her words, as soon as, it was one thing for me to find out that I had breast cancer, which was a shock. And then they find out that my mother has breast cancer. That's like a bigger shock. So their niece has breast cancer, and then their sister has breast cancer, And then now my daughter, when we told her, she said, "So am I going to have breast cancer?" That I'll never forget. She stood there in the living room and she was like, "Mom, so if you and Grandma have breast cancer, does that mean that I'm going to have breast cancer too?" The scariest part is that there's a possibility. How do you tell your 10-year-old? Maybe.
Yeah.
So my response to her was, "You know what, Gianna," with like trying to avoid that, is now that Grandma and I know that we have breast cancer, we know to start monitoring you a lot sooner instead of waiting, till, and it was hard because, well, usually you don't get mammograms till I think you're in your 40s. So I never went for one. I was 37. I didn't go for one at that time. For Gianna, we're going to have to start monitoring her, I believe, at 20. So at 20 years old, my little girl is going to start to get checked for breast cancer. And what I told her is that now that we know that Grandma and I do have it, we can start checking you a lot sooner to prevent, and if, let's say, God forbid, that she were to have it, we catch it a lot sooner, or she just may not, which would be great.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing if she did not have to go through this. And with that being said, is the way I have, I guess, walked through this journey has a lot to do with how she's seen me go through this. She's seen me have a regular life, even though I've had to go through chemo and not have hair. That little girl, has been so amazing. Even Ella, who's 3, you would think that like a little girl would be questioning, "Where's your hair?" And this, never once asked. It was just, that's Jen, and that's it. Like, there was never any, "Why do you look like that?" And Gianna has always been very protective. I think even more so now. If people look at me, I said, "It's okay. They're just not used to seeing somebody that didn't have hair." And she's like, "Okay, Mom." My little girl is Gianna. I feel that this will make her stronger, is seeing her mom be able to fight something. And because I know that she's constantly watching me, I have to continue.
You are the example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel like to her and to my mom, because I want my mom to see that, no, like don't get caught up in just staying at home and hiding from everybody. Like, make yourself useful, do something. You're a lot stronger than you think you are. And I feel like this goes for so many people that are going through chemo and cancer, is that it plays with your mind. It's one of those where I feel like I have to talk to myself quite often, which is like kind of nuts, but I am like, it's like you're coaching yourself through like, you're okay. You can do this. You want to go do that? Do it. You know, don't stay at home. Don't just sit there all day watching TV. Get up, clean.
Well, the power of belief is a very strong thing. Like the words that you think about, the words that come out of your mouth, they become true. Mm-hmm. And it's also for the negative. Yes. Like they are so true. It works. And I think people think that I'm crazy when I talk about that, but the words you say out loud become truth.
Yeah. So with that, with those words that you just said, and I absolutely believe that, because, and this is just me being super honest, I remember years ago saying, and it was a weird feeling, I always had a feeling I was going to have breast cancer. Wow. Yeah. Nuts. Again, because we don't have that in our family. So why would I think something like that? And it was just a thought that I would have. And I think I had even told Elias about it. He's like, you need to like stop. And then lo and behold, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So even more so now, it's positive. I am breast cancer free. I am breast cancer free.
You literally have to watch the words that come out of your mouth.
Oh my gosh.
They're so dangerous. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Jen, I, of course, thank you very much for your time. Thank you for sharing your journey. I think a lot of people are going to learn a lot from this. And the power of your words are very important to people. So.
Thank you, Josh. I appreciate it.
See y'all later. Bye. Awesome.
That was super cool.
Thank you.
That was
about an hour.
Oh, wow.
Didn't seem like it, right?
No.